There's a sentence that I read, and you wrote that sentence, and I love that sentence that says, do not neglect transparency. It will change the face of healthcare in the coming years.
Yeah.
I love that sentence. And I think it's very aligned to value-based healthcare, especially if the system is ready for transparency in terms of outcomes.
Yeah.
So we know the outcomes from providers.
Yeah.
And value-based healthcare is a very hot topic at the moment in Brazil, and you gave yesterday a brilliant speech about it. I think you were able to put the concept on the ground, and you showed us how to really do it. So my question is, what are your tips for Brazil now? We are still crawling in that topic. What are your tips so we can take value-based healthcare to a next level?
Two elements to start with, and then go to your question. First of all, yes, transparency is key. And let's realize that consuming healthcare is something fundamentally different from consuming other goods or services. I can go to a hotel and I can think, well, this hotel is good and this hotel is not good, and then the next time go to another hotel. I hope that doesn't happen when I have an appendicitis, because there it needs to be first time right, first time perfect, because otherwise I'm going to suffer. So choosing is very difficult when it comes to healthcare, and especially when you're ill, you're not in the situation where you have the energy or the appetite to really choose and be a very critical consumer. So it means that transparency needs to be there. And when you have breast cancer or when you have colon cancer, you need to be knowing which are the best places to go there. And that information needs to be very readily accessible so that you can make that decision. So that's one. The second one is that, to be honest, Brazil is not the only country struggling with value-based healthcare. I think we talk a lot about value-based healthcare, but what we see that it's very difficult to implement it. What I noticed yesterday at the meeting that we had, it was great, but it's still quite a bit of what we talk about, quite a bit about the discussion is still quite theoretical. And we've done it. We've been there. We've done it in the US in a very large program. We've done it in the UK in a number of programs. We've done it in the Netherlands working with pharmaceutical companies. And it's hard. It's hard because lesson one for me is don't start too big. If you start too big, it's, you have a ticket to failure because it will get too complicated. So that's lesson one. So define a very good and very tangible area, be it geographically, be it in terms of diagnosis, be it in terms of provider, where you want to run this program. Then the second one is be very clear on what you want to achieve. That's what I noticed yesterday. People were talking about value-based healthcare, and what you see is that's about 10 definitions are being used, and you don't have clarity on what definition you're using. So here it is once again. Function follows strategy. So what do you want to achieve in your healthcare system? Is it about cost? Is it about quality? Is it about improving accessibility for larger groups? And you need to be thinking about that. And then when you've got the strategy clear, you then need to start defining, what am I going to measure? Am I going to measure at the diagnosis level? Am I going to measure at the system level? What are my interventions? So having the data and analytics ready so that you really know what you're talking about. Setting your goals. And when you set your goals in value-based healthcare, because a lot of people think I measure, it's transparent, and then we've done it. Well, that's not value-based healthcare, that's transparency, that's very important. But value-based healthcare is really about improving the quality of your care. So once you've done your zero-phase measurements, you've got your definitions clear, your KPIs clear, then start setting your road on what you want to achieve and realize that achieving value-based healthcare, achieving and improving the value of your healthcare, it's a transformational journey. It's not a 1 month solution to a problem that you have. So you need to be setting higher levels of your outcomes. You need to be changing your incentive system so that your incentive system is really working on the improvement within your outcomes. It's about who are my key stakeholders, how can I involve them, how can I make them work with me. So it's about this whole set of arrangement that you need to make, and you need to take your people, these people who are involved there in this transformational journey, and take them with you step by step and show them what they're achieving. Feed it back. Feedback is crucial in value-based healthcare. This is where you started. This is what we measured. This is what we want to achieve. These are the interventions, and look at it. This is where you're getting now. Are you where you want to be? No, not yet, but you're on the right way. So that's very important.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon. It's definitely a marathon. And start small. Every marathon starts with the first kilometer that you run.
And Daniel, that's interesting. And I was following Anna's comment here, because some of the players in Brazil, they are saying they are applying or they are executing value-based just simply because they are putting bundles and signing contracts from outside, right?
Well, they have guarantee.
And they are saying, no, we are now applying value-based because here is the bundle and execute inside of this contract based on this cost. And it's completely cost-driven.
Yeah.
They might be measuring quality and value, but it's all about cost at the end when they have purchase bargain, for example.
Yeah.
So it is clear that it is a long journey.
Yeah.
And I think we, as a KPMG and being really, I guess, we believe in value-based and we support the initiatives around the globe, as we do here in Brazil. I think we have a long journey, Daniel, to keep telling to the entire marketplace, stakeholders, that value-based is not simple, it's not easy, it's a long journey, it's a marathon. And to get it started, it is, it's a matter of need at this time, because we need to change the system, otherwise the system will disappear, I think, or break. But it's a tough task, because the market doesn't, I guess, the market knows and understands the concept, but don't, on my personal view.
And they're impatient. And it's diffusion and impatience that go together, which is a recipe for failure. So patience, clarity, acting very consequentially. And realizing also that very often value-based healthcare is not only taking something that takes place in one setting, but you need to look at it across settings. And I always take the example of the lady who gets operated on her hip, who gets a hip replacement. And the outcome of the operation can be perfect. But if the physiotherapy that she gets afterwards is not fitted in and is not good, the end results will be bad. So you need to take into account that whole care pathway there and define your sub-measurements and your measurements on the total pathway. And you need to be working with a wider group.
Yeah.